Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of I Never Knew, But My Dog Did podcast. I am Maureen Scanlon, a master life coach of self-worth, self-confidence, dating, and relationships. I am here to tell you you are amazing. And even more so, I have a guest who's going to also tell you how amazing you are. And I know I say this, I'm redundant, and I really don't care because I this is my get to. I get the most amazing people that come on this podcast, and you guys are the beneficiaries, listeners, that you get to share in these experiences that I'm so excited about. So, wait till you hear about my next guest. And I'm going to preface this because I told her, I said, I have to start recording before I tell you how absolutely amazing I think you are. She is the OG of life coaching, and every profession has a mentor, someone you look up to and you're like, "Oh, I want to be in this profession, geez, speak. Because this person started this for us and they were the original. Darn it, you started this profession long before this even started. And I have always said, and everyone who knows me, when I started coaching, I said, next stop, Oprah's couch. It's been my mantra for 9 years. And when you came across my desk, I'm like, shut up. So, everyone, let me introduce you to Rhonda Britten. She is an Emmy Award winner. She is a repeat Oprah guest and a master coach. She has changed lives in over 600 episodes of reality TV. She has authored four bestsellers, including her seminal work, Fearless Living, translated into 16, yes, you heard it, 16 languages. And she founded the Fearless Living Institute, home of Fearless Living Life coach certification program, considered the Ivy League of life coaching training. Fantastic. She was the first life coach on TV in the world. In the world. Hear me, listeners, in the world. And appeared for 3 seasons as a head life coach on the hit daytime NBC show Starting Over. She was named its most valuable player by the New York Times and heralded as America's favorite life coach. She brings neuroscience of fear down to earth. She gives you a path out of not being good enough using the wheels technology she developed that saved her own life. She's been read, heard, and watched by millions, coached tens of thousands of clients, and trained hundreds of coaches, and now wants to share all she knows with you. And oh my gosh, welcome, Rhonda.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. What a lovely introduction. What a lovely introduction. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate that. And yes, one of the reasons I wanted to be on television, in the beginning, I didn't know this, but when I got my first television show in the United Kingdom, because that's the first TV show in the world with life coach, me changed people's lives in England, that aired, by the way, in Australia and Israel and all different places. Um, when I did that show for 2 years, then after the second season, I came back to America like I did after every season, and Starting Over was airing. And not only did Starting Over want to hire me, but I also had 5 other production deals that people wanted to have because I was the only person that had done it. But this is what I said to myself. Starting Over already had a deal on NBC. They were already going to start shooting. And I said, I want to be the first life coach on television in the United States so people know what good coaching is, because there's a lot of bad coaching. So I wanted to really be the herald. I really wanted to say, like, look at how I coach, look at what I'm doing, to support the industry in keeping its high standards. So you speak my language, because I'm kind of like a coach fanatic. I'm like a fanatical coach. And I want coaches worldwide and therapists to really learn the coaching skills that are really necessary to truly make a huge impact in people's lives.
Oh my gosh, I'm fangirling right now. But seriously, here's the thing. Excuse me. When I here's and I think a lot of coaches come to this path. So here on I Never Knew. We always start off with your knee story. So basically, the knee story is when in your life, and I'm sure there's many, but was a profound moment where you were on your knees and you said, "Oh my gosh, this life is not working. This isn't working, and I got to figure something out. This is not what I want for my life anymore," which is why most people come to coaching because they have those knee stories. What was yours that sort of started the trajectory to life coaching?
Well, I believe that knee stories, and I love that you use the word knee stories because it really is. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've fallen to my knees, and I actually love it when I do because I still do it to this day, of course. Uh, and usually it's in gratitude now. And but falling to your knees is such an act of surrender, right? It's such an act of humility. It's such an act of, you know what, take me, right? Like do thy will, like let's like just come on, let's make this happen, right? So my biggest knee story, and you know, it's usually the worst day of your life many times. I also believe that you hinted is that the worst day of our lives, those knee stories, are where our seed of destiny is. It is where the seeds are planted, and they may take a year, may take 5 years, may, on my case it took 20 years for those seeds to grow into becoming who I am today.
Yeah.
But what you're referring to, my knee story, my big one is when I was 14 years old. I grew up in a little tiny town in upper Michigan, 365 inches of snow a year, two restaurants. There were three. I was the middle of three girls with, you know, two parents, three kids. Lot, you know, didn't go out to eat. We went to big, you know, there's only Big Boy and Douglas House Buffet, and we never went out to eat because that's a big expense for five people, right? But today was Father's Day, and my parents had recently separated. So my father was coming and doing something extra special, which was taking us out to the fancy Sunday brunch. So my mother was in her bedroom, fluffing up her beehive and putting on her blue eyeshadow and her rose-colored lipstick, right? And my dad walked in the back door. Come on, let's go, girls, let's go, girls. And my two sisters are fighting it out in our one bathroom, about 850 square feet. And me and my mom start walking out to go to the car. My sister's still in the bathroom fighting it out. And as my father and mother and I walk outside, it's starting to sprinkle. And my father says he has to get his coat from the car. Now, this coat is a tan Naugahyde leisure suit coat. And if you're old enough to remember, those were hot. Okay. Just saying, my dad was going to look hot when we're going to brunch. And so he opens the trunk to get his cool jacket. And instead of grabbing his jacket, he grabbed a gun and he started yelling at my mother, "You made me do this. You made me do this." And he fires. And I start yelling, "What are you doing, Dad? What are you doing? What are you doing, Dad? Stop, stop, stop." And he cocks the gun and he points it at me. And I absolutely 100% believed I was next. And he blinked and I blinked and he blinked and I blinked. And then my mother, with her literal last breath, screams out, "No, don't." And my father, realizing my mother is still alive, takes the bullet intended for me and shoots my mother a second time. And that second bullet went through her abdomen, out her back, landed in the car horn. And for the next 20 minutes, all we all heard is, "Eh." And then my father cocked the gun for a third time, put the gun to his head, and killed himself. And I was the sole witness to my father murdering my mother and committing suicide in about 2 minutes' time. And I don't know how other people would respond to that, but this is how I responded to it. Is I thought it was my fault because I was the only one physically out there that could have changed the trajectory of this moment. And I did not jump in front of my mother. I did not grab the gun. I did not kick my father's shin, right? Like I did nothing. I was frozen.
Right.
And from that moment, you know, I blamed myself for my mother's death. And when you let your mother die, you don't get to be happy, just FYI. That's off the table. So for the next 20 years, I basically broke into two people. And I don't think I'm alone in this. I think many of us are two people. One is the inside self and one is the outside self. My outside self was, "I'm fine. No, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good." You know, I still went to school, got straight A's, got a full ride to college. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. But the inside Rhonda, well, that's another story. Talk about not feeling good enough, low self-worth, low self-esteem, right? Like I'm just crawling through glass every day just to stay alive. And in college, I found this thing called alcohol. Oh, and
Yeah.
that numbed me out nice and made me happy, you know, that false sense of happiness, right? So I started drinking, became an alcoholic, got three DUIs, and attempted to kill myself three times. And it was that third suicide attempt that I realized that I'm not very good at killing myself, not good at it. And I got to figure this out. Now, mind you, those 20 years in between my parents' death and me waking up in the hospital for the third time in that third suicide attempt, I had gone to therapy. I had done workshops. I had read books. I mean, I read my first self up when I was 12, and I was planning to be a minister when I was 13. So when they died at 14, I was already knee deep in attempting to help myself and save myself, right? So I did so much work on myself during those years, but that work gave me a lot of tools, gave me a lot of understanding, but it didn't take away the feeling that there's something fundamentally wrong with me. It did not take away the feeling that in the middle of the night, there is something wrong. And that third suicide attempt, when I realized, I'm not very good at killing myself, I said to myself in that moment, I have to start over because I've tried all those things. So, I mean, if those things aren't working, what am I supposed to do? And I remember just being so helpless at that moment, going, I remember I was in my little studio apartment and I leaned my back against the wall. And you know how you slide down the wall in, getting on your knees, right? I slid down the wall, fell on my butt, and said, I have to start over. And what do kindergartners do? What do
Wow.
kindergartners do? Well, they get a calendar and gold stars. Okay. I literally got up, went to the store, got calendar gold stars because I needed a reason to believe I was worth saving. I wasn't dying. I remember being so frustrated that I wasn't dead. Right. And it's like, are you kidding me? You kidding me? I'm alive again. I said to myself, because, I guess I'm supposed to stay alive. I guess I'm supposed to be here. Well, then I gotta figure this out because I can't keep living like this. I cannot keep living like this. So I got my gold stars, and every day for 30 days, I gave myself a gold star for anything that I did in any way, shape, or form better, right? And we're talking got angry and didn't break anything. That's the level I was at. We're not talking anything aware, big awareness. We're just talking, can I, drink and not get drunk, right? Or can I get upset and not, slap somebody, right? Like, so those are the level of where I was. But at the end of 30 days, I had a calendar filled with gold stars and I had hope.
Wow. Yeah.
I had hope. And that is what kept me going because I knew that there had to be another way.
Oh, there's so much to unpack there that I absolutely love. I mean, wow, you just made me speechless with your knee story. I mean, whew, there's not a lot of people that can recover from that. And something I like to see, and I hope you are on board with me on life coaching, is I always say therapy uncovers what has gone on and coaching recovers. And so I think it is important, especially when you have addictions, you have an addiction for a reason. Addiction is not the thing that you have a problem with, it's covering the thing that you have a problem with. And in your case, suppression, my gosh, you're holding something down for 20 years. And
That's right.
the guilt of the belief, and this is something cool. Another guest had said was, you have to decipher if your belief is yours or if it was given to you. And I
Sure.
think
Sure.
that's a fantastic way of being able to do the gold star system and sort of change that this isn't mine to keep. This guilt that you felt you didn't do this thing, but yet that was given to you, that belief. I'm a firm believer in the reward system, and I think your stars were just those little things. I tell my clients all the time, please reward yourself at the end of the week with
Mm-hmm.
something. I don't care what it is, your favorite coffee, whatever it is you love, because we reprogram our brains, and you're going to help us more
Mm-hmm.
with the neuroscience. We're going to reprogram our brains to believe that we have worthiness and that we
Mm-hmm.
deserve something and that we did good rather than focusing on all the things we did not do well,
Yes. Yes.
right?
And so, all when you go down that path of, believing all the things that you don't do well, and you and I know this, is that that's fear.
Yeah.
It's an illusion. It's not even real, but it feels real. Don't get me wrong. It feels real, but it is not real. And once you start understanding how fear works, it breaks the illusion that there's something wrong with you. It breaks the illusion that you're unworthy. It breaks the illusion that that you're not good enough. It breaks that illusion. Because what we're talking about here when we talk about unworthiness and low self-esteem and all of these things, beating ourselves up, putting ourselves down, etc., those are fear responses.
Mm.
So they're not character traits, right? They're not self-identifiers. They're literally fear responses. So when you're procrastinating, that's a fear response. When you're being a perfectionist, that's a fear response. When you're people pleasing, that's a fear response. When you're overwhelmed, that's a fear response. When you're anxious, that's a fear response. When you're comparing, that's a fear response. When you're complaining, it's a fear response, right? And
Mm.
I could go on: victimization, bitterness, entitlement, so many. I mean, I have a little quiz that I have in my book, Fearless Living, that I give people, and I do it when I'm giving a talk. And it's amazing because this is one of the things, Maureen, is that people, and this was me. That's why I'm as shocked as anybody that I work with fear, because I didn't believe I was afraid. Even after my father killed my mother, I didn't walk around saying I'm afraid,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and even 20 years later, when I started really moving towards becoming a coach, eventually, I didn't think I was afraid. And so that's the thing. One of the first things I have to move people through is recognizing that there is nothing wrong with you. It's just fear.
Mm.
And once you can see fear for what it is, once you can see your quote unquote character flaws, the things you hate about yourself, the things you should be better at, the things you should solve, the things you should be over by now, all of that is just fear. And those are just fear responses. And once you can take them out of the preciousness of like, oh, this is no, take it, no, then just look at it as fear response, it becomes a lot easier to
Mm.
move and shift without all the weight of, why am I not worthy? I mean, you and I both know that everyone's worthy, right? But when you feel unworthy, you actually believe you've done something that makes you unworthy, or that you have some flaw that you think you're unworthy. That is a false perception. That is just fear tricking you, because fear needs to keep you alive. That's fear's job, by the way. Fear doesn't care if you're happy. Fear doesn't care if you find your purpose. Fear could give a crap about all that. Only thing fear cares about is, I got to keep Maureen alive. And the only way I know how to keep Maureen alive is to keep her doing exactly what she's been doing, because she's alive now. So I've done an amazing job. Da, 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 da. I've done an amazing job. Right. And you want to go and like build a business or go and be on Oprah. And it's like, fear's like, oh, I can't protect her on Oprah. Who knows what will happen? Wow, I can't protect her if she's going to make the $10 million. I got to get this stopped. Right. That's how fear thinks. Fear doesn't know any other way to help you. I always say every feeling has a job, and fear's feeling is to protect you and keep you safe physically. So think about it: when you isolate, when you pretend, when you compare, when you get defensive, when you wait and call it patience, when you blame, struggle, worry, control, manipulate, feel powerless, resentful, and I could go on and on and on. These are simply fear responses. So when you are noticing that you're people pleasing, it's not like, oh, I wish I could put people pleasing. Oh, no, just go, oh, this is amazing, because if I'm people pleasing, that means there's some opportunity here to take a stretch, risk, or die. There's an opportunity here for me to show up as me. Oh, goody, goody, goody. Scary, scary, scary in the beginning, right? But once you can start identifying, the only reason I want to people please is because I really want to do something different,
Mm. Wow. I
right? I really want to do something different.
Yes, you know what I love so much about you is you being the pioneer and the OG, because, and no disrespect to the psychology world, because I adore psychology and the fact that we're so open to mental health advocating now. However,
Yes.
those buzzwords and the buzzwords of trauma informed, trauma. I wish I could pull trauma out of it. The way you just did is just that. You said, forget the trauma. You were in trauma. Oh my God, that's the most traumatic thing to see your mother killed in front of you and your father take his life in front of you, and you're the only one there witnessing. There's nothing more traumatic in my brain than
Trauma,
that.
PTSD, PTSD.
And
Yes,
I haven't heard you say trauma one time since we've been speaking, and I love that you narrowed it down to fear. And the irony of this is my fourth book is going to be on fear. And
there you go.
what goes hand in hand with fear is anxiety, because fear says I'm protecting you. Anxiety says you know nothing about this thing. Let's not do that. So I feel like they're like besties. Don't you think they're like married?
It's a very powerful fear response, especially in this day and age. Like our parents didn't get anxious.
Mm.
That's not what they did, right? They people pleased, right? But anxiety wasn't what it is today. So anxiety has come into our culture, social media, everything else. So there's so much coming at us that we can't filter properly, and we don't know who to trust and who not to trust because, by the way, we don't trust ourselves. So yeah, anxiety is absolutely, but other people, they're not anxious, they're overwhelmed, or
Mm.
they just procrastinate. They sit on the couch and eat Doritos, and they go, God, I really want to do something with my life, but I've got to watch the show, right? Like, so we all have our go-tos, and we learned them, we acquired them. um, we all have what I call the wheel of fear. And the wheel of fear is based on your history, how you grew up, et cetera, who influenced you, but it's also part of your DNA. So they have proven now that fears are handed down through DNA. So when people come to me and say, why am I like this? It's like, that is actually a question that need not be answered. There's no need that we need to figure out why,
Yeah.
because you and I both have what I call a wheel of fear. You got it before you were 7. I got it before I was 7. Before my father killed my mother, I already had my wheel of fear locked and loaded. And so that I cut off. In order to have a wheel of fear, you also cut off parts of yourself to live inside that wheel of fear, because
Mm.
that wheel of fear we think is who we are. So I have to cut parts off of myself. So I have a wheel of fear, and then I have a wheel of freedom. And the wheel of freedom is gathering yourself back up, right? Moving into your wholeness, moving into who you really are, right? But there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just fear. So yeah, anxiety for many people, especially women, is a huge motivator. And anxiety, as you and I both know, is just a body sensation. That's all it is. It's a body sensation.
Mhm.
And once you start recognizing that fear shows up in our thoughts, for some of us, it's thoughts, for some of us, it's feelings, many of us, it's our body sensations. So when we want to do something, it's not that we actually have to talk ourselves into it. We have to learn to cool and calm our body sensations while we're taking action. So
Mm.
if you can separate, my anxiety is body sensations. I just don't know how to handle all the energy moving through me.
Yeah.
Now, imagine if you could channel that energy. Imagine if you could channel that energy moving towards the thing you want instead of anxiety. So when you're anxious, that's fear trying to pull you back, using your body as a mechanism to keep you anxious. So you're having body sensations. And your first thing, of course, is to start moving through and calming your body down. Whether that's good old exercise that we can all learn is sitting down and tightening our thighs together really, 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 really tight, so that it kind of calms our whole body down. Right? We can hug ourselves. There's so many things that are, like, people tap now. So many things we can do in order to build a new relationship with that anxiety. Because the minute we call it anxiety, and the minute we let it decide for us, fear just won. That neural pathway got strengthened.
Yeah.
It's strengthened. So now it's going to keep. So we want to create new neural pathways. Well, how do we do that? Well, we have to make new choices, right? We have to make new choices. And they can be little tiny things like we talked about earlier. It can be just little tiny things. But every time we do something, we're literally having a new neural pathway formed, literally building it so it can replace the way we used to think. And I'll say one more thing about neuroscience real quick. It's been researched that how you really change your life is how you perceive the world, period, end of story. And how you change your relationship to that world is by feeding your brain with new information.
Mhm.
So, uh, overwhelm. Okay, I'm going to practice my body sensations. I'm going to, next time I'm anxious, I'm going to no longer call it anxiety. I'm just going to say, oh, my body sensations are activated. Oh, I'm thinking of doing something big, bold, and, brave. Of course it's here. Oh, okay. I am just going to work with my body. Well, you do that, you're feeding your brain new information, and that new information is now planted. And the next time you have something come up, it'll remember that you know how to do that.
Yes.
So it right. So this is the thing. It's like step by step, we got to create new neural pathways, because if we don't, we will be on repeat.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm so on board with you. It's unbelievable because what works the most, and my history is in abusive, narcissistic relationships. In my family of origin, I believed I had to earn love. And so I went out
Yes,
into the world as an adult believing I had to put the effort out to make people love me because it wasn't lovable enough unless
yes,
I was
that's right.
doing something for someone.
That's right.
And thank goodness that our younger generation has so much more information and so much more ability to change sooner, where I went 45 years like this. You are absolutely right. And here it is. The fear response, the, of course, fight, flight, fawn, and freeze it's a
Yep.
normal thing. That's like an instinct of a dog to bark at someone walking
That's
by.
right.
They're going to
That's right. That's right.
protecting their house. So undoing that, like you said, or changing that. So I remember having to finally the last dysfunctional relationship where I finally was like, I can't keep doing this. I'm the common denominator here. I've got to do something
That's right.
different,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
Um,
That's right.
that was my knee story. That was the moment where the dogs taught me, hey, we love you unconditionally. Why don't you? That's when those old neural pathways would say to me, you're not worthy. They don't think nobody's going to love you for who you are. You got to go out there and you got to work harder to make people love you. To change
That's
those
right.
neural pathways, I would say, I am worthy. There's nothing meant for me that will miss me if I want it. I'm confident. So, in saying this, for me, the most important way of changing a neural pathway was empowerment. And
Hmm.
that's the most, for me, teaching women, coaching women is when you do something you've never done before. So it's like, okay, I'm afraid of heights, but I'm going to go bungee jump. And then you do
Hmm.
that bungee jump. When you get off that bungee jump and you get your feet on ground again, all of a sudden
Yep.
you're empowered. And that's just
That's right.
an analogy for when you
Hmm.
do those things that you fear, you face the fear, that exposure therapy, if you
Hmm.
would.
Hmm. Hmm.
You empower yourself, and every time you empower yourself, it's a chain reaction. You empower yourself more. Oh, I did this
That's right.
hard
That's
thing,
right. That's right.
and then this is kind of scary. Should I do this? I remember anyone who's an author, this. You think about writing a book, you're like, I don't know, can I write a book? I don't know. I'm kind of a talker. I'm not really a writer. That was my thought. My father said, you don't know how to write a book, and I'm like, yeah, I know I don't, but I'm going to do it. I'm just going to write down some words. I mean, if you believe you can, then you can. And then handing that book over to the publisher is like, I just gave him my newborn baby. And
Yes, that's
now,
right.
like you with your bestsellers, now I've got three under my belt. Man, I want to write 20 more because
That's
I
right. That's
I'm empowered, right? I beat
yes.
that fear and now I just add to that empowerment. That's where we create a better life for ourselves, right?
Absolutely. And you said something about believing, like I believe that I can have it, or I believe that I can do this. Sometimes we don't have belief.
Mhm.
Sometimes, and a lot of times we don't have belief, and sometimes we don't know how. And I would say most of the times we don't know how. And so we see that we want it. We want to have sovereignty. We want to have agency. We want to be powerful. We want to own our power. We want to feel loved. We want to love ourselves. We want to all these things. We read all the books. We want self worth, but we don't know how to do it. And we don't necessarily believe that we can get it. We believe other people get it, but maybe not us, right? So I'm going to give a little silly example to show this. So I was on a date with a guy, right? We've been dating for a while, and we're driving back from a little getaway we had, right? And my anxiety is like at a 10 because this was, a few years back, many years back. And because I didn't know how he felt about me. And we'd been dating for a while, and I was feeling very anxious and uncertain about like what are we doing, right? So I am in the car. It's a little tiny MG, like a little tiny car. So we're right next to each other, right? Like there's no like moving away, right? And I start and I Rhonda, you have to speak up. No matter how poorly you do it, no matter what he thinks, you must do it for yourself. You must do it for yourself. So I said to him, because I'm crying now by this time. Oh, I just need to know how you feel about me, right? And I couldn't even look at him. So I think what happens is we think I am going to be empowered and I am going to be powerful. So I'm going to look him in the eye and I'm going to say, hey, what do you feel about me? No, you know what you're going to do the first time? You're going to stare at the window, not look at him, cry the whole time, freaking out inside, but you're doing it anyway. And I went, I just need to know where we stand, right? And I'm, what my desire was more important of how I felt or how I looked. And it was scarier than crap. But but so I think what we do is we give, many of us, or many books out there, many people out there give the impression that you're going to be empowered and powerful and you're just going to turn it on. No, you know what? Some areas of your life you are going to be able to do that. You're going to turn it on right away. But there's other areas of your life that you're literally the most powerful thing you can do, the most empowering, the most agency, the most sovereign thing you can do is look at the window with your back to somebody, crying and weeping, and just saying, I have to say something, and it's going to come out really bad, but I need to say it. Is courage. That is fearlessness. So it's not about, oh, I look good and I'm going to be, I'm going to start being this amazing, brave person. That to me is the bravest of all. That to me is the bravest of all. So, so right now we want to support people to have sovereignty, to have agency, to be empowered. And I want them to know there is a messy middle, right? There's a messy middle, as they call it, right? There's a messy middle where you're practicing these skills and you're not looking like you have it all together, but this is the key. You're feeling afterwards, holy crap, I just did that. So the feeling comes, you're not necessarily like going, I did that amazing, right? You're like, oh my God, that was bad. And I did it.
Yes.
So I don't care how you look. I don't care how you sound. I don't care if you have to cry through the whole thing. I don't care if you're like, right? Breaking you. I don't care because you're doing it.
Yeah.
That one time, you're going to do it again and again and again. And now I could ask that if I was with that same guy, I could look at him and go, hey, I need to know where we are. But that took me many times practicing having a voice because even though, I'm Rhonda Britten over here, relationships for me is where my vulnerability comes in, where my fear has its way with me, right? So I've had to have lots of practice men, lots of practice men in order to find myself. And I learned this phrase. I taught myself this phrase. I teach my clients this phrase. I'm not going to do this very well. I have something I need to say. I'm not going to do it very well. Would you be willing to listen until I'm done? Because I'm probably going to ramble and it's not going to come out correctly.
Wow.
Would you stay here with me? Right. And then when they go, oh yeah, don't say, well, you're not, no, just let, of course he or she's nervous because you're going, I'm going to be really bad at this. Of course they're nervous. So you go, okay, thank you. And then you go.
Yeah.
I dated this one guy who I would cry and he would literally jump off the couch and go to the other chair because he couldn't be next to me when he cried. And I literally taught him, I go, when I'm crying, I need you to sit next to me and hold me. And he's way over there now. He's moved across the room and he's like, oh. And I go, well, come over here and hug me. And he's like stiff armed, right? He finally does it and he's stiff armed. And too many women and too many partners say, well, you're not really hugging me. It's like, no, that's all he's got right there because he's freaking out, but he's doing it.
Right.
So he was right. He was stiff armed. And then, 3-5 times later, he was like, oh yeah, this is when I hug her. Okay. And right. He got good at it.
Yeah.
But you have to do that with your partner. You have to do that with each other. You have to help train yourself and train him. So it's not about, I'm going to show up in a black suit tomorrow because I'm, empowered myself. It's like, no, you might show up in tears on your knees and, oh my God, are you empowered or what?
Exactly. And I think one of the key things is, well, one of the things I always tell my clients is your desire for the thing has to be greater than your fear of it. And that's usually a movement in the right way. And the other thing is I tell people, I want you to say this thing until you believe it. So the kind of fake it till you make it kind of idea, you're not really faking it. You're just repeating something. How did we learn the ABCs? How did we learn how to tie our shoe? We repeated it over and over. That's how the human brain learns, repetition. What's wrong with looking in the mirror and saying, you're worthy, you're amazing, Maureen, you can do hard things? I didn't believe it, no,
Yep.
because I had too many people in my life for too many years saying I wasn't worthy, I wasn't amazing, and I couldn't do hard things. But you will believe it when you say it to yourself enough. I had the most awesome epiphany, and I hope you love this as much as I did. Before I was coaching my client, just last week, I got this sort of download. Sometimes before you coach, you ever just get those awesome downloads where it's like, I know what they need today. This was a download that day. And what I got from it was there's a huge difference between self-confidence and self-worth. So self-confidence is how
Hmm.
good do I feel about myself presenting myself to the world? And how do I believe that I'm going to be received from the world? That is self-confidence. Now, stay with me, listeners. Self-worth are the actions you take whether someone's looking or not.
That's right. That's right.
That was really for me this epiphany moment because self-worth is saying, I'm going to do self-care for myself today. I'm going to go work out today. I don't have to post it on Facebook and say, hey, look, I worked out today. Aren't you proud of me? Self-worth are those things that are action oriented, where self-confidence is great, but you're still looking for those outside validations. Isn't that just a fantastic way of looking at it? Because those self words, I do an actual speech on the stigma of self words. You and I grew up in an era where don't be self-centered, don't be
Yeah,
selfish,
that's right. That's
don't
right.
be
That's right.
self-absorbed, and it's so incorrect. We have to flip the script because all of those things are important. We have to put self first, or we all wouldn't be in the boat of having such mental health crisis and struggles, I think, today. So, can you add to that about the
Yeah.
self-confidence, self-worth?
Yeah. I think, confidence to me is a result. So, the extra, I'm going to give all your listeners and viewers a little gift. It's called Stretch, Risk, and Die. And it basically shows you how to take stretch, risk, and dies in your life in order to gain confidence. So, confidence to me is something you gain at the end of taking a risk. It's not something you have without it. And confidence is always something that must be courted. It's not something that you once you get it, you keep it. That's not how it works. People think that, well, once I have self confidence, I'll keep it. No, it goes up and down. So it depends on your stretch, risk, and dies. The other thing about self worth, what I'll add to what you brilliantly said, is for most people, self worth feels like I didn't earn it,
Hmm.
right? I didn't earn it. I don't have permission because I have no worth. If I had worth, I'd have permission. If I had worth, I could speak up. If I had worth, right? And that can be with esteem too. So earning it is where, like you and I both grew up in the same type of family where I had to earn love as well. And so earning is, you don't have a sense of self. You don't have that self worth. So once you go, well, wait, I don't have to earn anything. Like I'm going to give myself permission, then that whole self-worth comes, filter. It's already here. There's already self-worth. You already have it. I just want you to imagine, anyone listening or watching, is that it's just covered up by a big blanket of fear.
Hmm.
And so once you start moving through the fear, that self-worth, that is your true innate nature, that your essence of who you already have self-worth. It's already there. So then you can just uncover it and start going, oh, this is what it means. Oh, and how do you break through the blanket of fear? Is by taking action, by
Yeah.
speaking up, by et cetera, by doing something in that will perhaps trigger more fear, but that you are knowing that this is creating a new neural pathway, this is creating a new life for myself, a new image of myself, and I'm having a new awareness of who I really am. So we all have, I believe, we've all had a moment in our life, and maybe it's just one moment, or maybe it's many moments, but we've all had a moment where we've known the truth. We've all had a moment, whether it's saying our prayers in bed, whether it's listening to an inspirational talk, right? Whether it's hearing us right now, like somebody said something and you go, yes, that's correct. That is the truth. And when you can grab that truth, right, and put it in your heart and know that truth is yours, and the fact that you resonate with it, that whatever's true, what that person said, whatever that person said that resonated with you, that is true for you too. Otherwise, you wouldn't resonate with it.
Mhm.
And if you can grab it and take it and go, aha, I am going to live out of this truth. This truth is now, I'm going to filter my life through this new truth. Your life will dramatically change very quickly. But what we do is we hear a truth and we don't grab it. We don't love it. We don't wrap it. We don't go yes and bathe ourselves with it. Instead, we go, oh, that's good for them. That, yes, that's a truth, but I can't do that with my husband, partner, spouse, church, women's group, what friends, my family, they'll disown me, right?
Yeah.
And so many people stay locked in their fear-based thinking because of their fear of what others will think.
Yeah.
And so, that is one thing that, I address in Fearless Living. I talk about fear junkies and fear busters. And knowing that you're fear junkies, the people that you think are going to judge you, they're doing that out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
not it's not even about you. It's not
Right.
about you at all. It's their fear. So once you start seeing like, oh, that's not even about me. That's their fear, because that's the benefit. One of the big benefits of understanding your wheel of fear and wheel of freedom is not only do you see yours and be able to work with yours, but you see everybody else's wheels.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, that's why they're being a jerk. Oh, that's why they're behaving that way. Oh, that's why they're trying to tell me no. Oh, that's just their fear. It's nothing to do with me. Oh, so much relief.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with me. Zero. It's
Yeah.
their fear. And you put it in the proper place. You end here, right here, you end right here.
Oh,
And
it's
that other person,
fantastic, isn't it?
right, is
It's
not you.
I wrote in my first book about having a heart guard, and I picture it just like I'm
Mm,
in the old-fashioned knight metal
yeah.
suit. Like you're allowed to protect yourself. And this is what I was just thinking as you were saying it. As you get the awareness of who you are, what your fears are, it's
Hmm.
automatic. You look in the world
Yeah.
and you say, this is why this politician behaves this way. This is why
That's
this
right. That's right.
my mother behaved this way. This is why
That's
my
right.
my friend does this. You're absolutely right.
That's right.
And you know what I think is the bridge? And I found this when I healed and I began coaching others. The bridge was allowance. When I
Mm,
allowed
mm, mm,
myself
mm,
to have good things, to say
mm,
what I wanted
mm-hmm,
to say. When we do
mm-hmm.
boundary statements, I do this
Yep.
exercise with my clients with the boundary statements, and I read these boundary statements and I say, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard would that be for you to say it?
Yes,
Oh
that's
my,
right.
it is
Yes,
unbelievable.
that's right. That's right.
We don't allow ourselves to say, you're not allowed
Yes,
to do
that's
that.
right.
We talk
Yeah.
about, get permission. If you're going to be physical, we teach our boys, you got to get permission. You stop at any time or you don't get in people's space. So physically, we're good with the allowance or not allowance, but we're not that great doing that mentally and emotionally saying,
Mm-hmm. That's
you're
right.
you're not allowed to speak to me that way, and I'm going to go ahead and walk away now.
That's right.
Or
That's right.
I'm not okay with that. I'm really uncomfortable. And when I see my clients go, oh my gosh, I could never say that, Maureen. That's and I'm like, why though? Isn't that how you feel? Well, yeah, but you don't understand my family. No, what you don't understand is you're not allowing yourself to speak that truth. And when you do, then you get that empowerment to be able to do it to more things in your life. And that brings
Yes.
a peace that is unbelievable. I didn't have peace until I knew how to allow myself to have boundaries and joy and to receive. Receiving is a big
Mm-hmm.
thing too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Receive love,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
receive
Yeah.
compliments. That's
Yeah.
a big thing. An
Yeah.
example, I tell people that are really have a really hard time taking compliments or good things said about them. I always say at Christmas when someone gives you a gift, you don't give it back and say, I don't deserve this, do you? You say thank you. So receive those good things in your life. It's
Yes.
all this process, and you didn't get here overnight. So be patient and merciful with yourself that it will take a little bit to undo those things, right?
That's right. And you brought up something really good. You said, what's stopping you from speaking up? And I think for many people, and this was me for decades and decades, is I actually didn't know what I felt and I didn't know what I needed.
Mhm.
So unless you know what you feel and need, it's really hard to put a boundary up because it's like, well, I don't do I what do I need? I don't know what I need. What do I need? Right? And what do I feel? So we're so discombobulated with how we feel. It's very easy to get enmeshed with another person because I don't know what I feel. So if they're telling me how I feel or behaving in a certain way, then I take it on because I don't know how I feel.
Mm,
So there's a sovereignty that must happen, an awareness that must happen that's like, okay, well, what do I feel?
yeah.
So I have my clients keep track of their feelings every hour on the hour. Like just start recognizing what you feel.
Yeah.
And neuroscience also says that the number one way you know you have emotional intelligence is the level of vocabulary you have around feelings. So if you only have four feelings, not really emotionally intelligent, not a lot of emotional management. So your job is to understand the difference between anger and upset and irritation and disappointment. There's a big difference between annoyed and disappointed. And so to understand what you're feeling is mind blowing. I know it was mind blowing for me. I had no idea what I felt. And then my next level was needs. You mean I have needs? I was so used to cutting them off. I didn't have any needs.
Right.
I literally didn't think I had any needs. And so just being willing to go, you mean I have needs? And how do I have needs? And why do I have a right to have those needs? And shouldn't I just take care of my needs myself? It's like, not that. That's not how God made us, right? So that's why I always say you are in charge of getting your needs met, but God tricked us because we can't get our needs met without other people. But we're
Right.
responsible for requesting or needing help, right? But I
Yeah.
think in order to make some of the switches, to move them into a place of willingness, more willingness, is to have, I know with my clients, to have them understand more feelings and needs allows an easier entry into being bold for many
Yes.
people.
And I'm with you. I use the wheel of feelings very often with my clients. And if any of you want it, listeners, I would be happy to send it to you. So, in fact, I printed it out for my grandson the other day and said, "Here, just keep it up here, okay?" So
That's right.
it's a wheel and it has all the different kinds of emotions. And I tell my clients, "Hey, name the emotion." They're like, "I don't know. I'm mad, I'm sad, or I don't know." And I would say, "I don't know" is an answer too. So that's like um half the wheel is then you feel an emotion because your needs are being met. And the other half of the
Mm-hmm.
wheel is the half that of your needs that are not being met. So when you have the anger, the fear, the anxiety, the
Mm-hmm.
depression, the disgust, the all those things, it pinpoints it. And then I go a little bit further and we do the why. And I'll say, why are you feeling that? Well, because this person made me feel this way. Why are you upset that they made you feel this way? Well, because I didn't deserve to be treated that. Why didn't you deserve to be treated that way? And you can like keep working it down to where you're like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
no, like I know why
Yes.
now. It's when you have those
Yes.
I don't knows, it's completely normal because the overwhelm of being able to sort it out is too much. So we go, I don't know. Well, you do
Yeah.
know, you're right, you do know, you just don't know how to narrow it down. And when you narrow it
Yeah,
down,
because we're
then
not
you know.
taught. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
not taught. Yeah, we're not
Yeah.
taught. But that's also about getting that sovereignty because if I don't know how I feel or what I need, then where do I end and where do other people begin? I don't know. I don't know where I end and they begin because now I'm getting enmeshed. So,
Right.
in order to carve out our own self, to create our own sense of who we are, knowing what we think and what we feel and what we need are really critical. And, I used to get enmeshed all the time. And then when I figured out this fear thing, it made everything really clean and easy for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just super clean, super easy, super understandable. And it takes away all that, like you said, all the language of self-betrayal and all the language of self-sabotage and all that language away and says, okay, wait a minute, I'm just afraid. I'm not screwed up. I'm not, low self-esteem. I'm not good enough. I'm just afraid. And so
Yes.
once you can really see it for what it is, you can make rapid change. But you must be willing to be aware. And as we started this time together, get on your knees.
Yeah.
Be willing to get on your knees.
Yes. One of the acronyms I use because everything I do is obviously the dogs because they're the ones that change the trajectory of my whole life just with that epiphany. I use bone. And the first thing with the B is brave. You have to be
Mm-hmm.
brave. It's not just going to happen. You have to be brave. Oh, be observant. Look at people around you that you admire. Emanate. those things, or just learn, observe motivational people, observe Rhonda, or listen to a podcast, that kind of thing. And necessary, do what's necessary for you first, no one else but you. And do not live by others' expectations, yet be expectant when you go out in the world. Expect good things are going to happen to you. Expect your desires will be met. Expect that people will react to you the way you want them to. Boy, does that change everything when you go out there saying, oh, wow, I'm just going to have a good conversation today. I don't need
Hmm.
someone to validate my worth today, but I want to go out and have a
Hmm.
good conversation. Whew,
That's right.
that pressure is relieved, is it not? It's like, okay, whew,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm
So I would
lighter.
love to get, yeah, absolutely. And so I'd love to gift your audience my one of my clients' favorite exercise called Stretch, Risk, and Die. Go on over to fearlessliving.org/risk, RISK, fearlessliving.org/risk, RISK, and put your name and your email in there, and you're going to get access to the platform, and you're going to get access to the course. And it has 3 15-minute videos, super easy, super easy. It has a workbook, it has templates, and it has sheets. I'm going to talk you through the whole thing. And I also make you laugh because I'm talking to a company, a small company gathering. So I'm speaking, and so you'll also laugh really hard. And I really invite you within the next 24 hours to watch those 3 videos, download the worksheets, download the workbook, and do a practice doing a goal or a dream or something you want to make happen. I don't care what it is, how little or big it is, and use a stretch, risk, and die model. And you, I guarantee, will see, oh, okay, no wonder I'm stopping myself. I've been making this just a big old list, and I thought this equaled this. No, they don't equal each other. No, they don't equal each other. One is a die, one is a stretch. So you need different parts of yourself in order to do that. So go down there, go to stretch fearlessliving.org/risk, RISK, go download the Stretch, Risk, and Die, watch it. And I guarantee you're going to start moving forward fast. And oh, by the way, on the 3rd video, I actually explain the Wheel of Fear. So there you go, an extra bonus.
How generous. I mean, that is really generous. Listeners, that takes a lot to create a course. I know because I'm just too fearful of starting that process. No, it's a lot of work. So for her to do this for free is amazing. And I will definitely have that link in the show notes. And then all of your books are they all on Amazon? Is there,
Yep, there you can get them. Fearless Living, Fearless Loving, Change Your Life in 30 Days. Do I Look Fat in This? And if you go to fearlessliving.org, there is a tab that says books. So you can go there, check out my books. There's also some coaching books that I've written, some coaching support. So you can go to the bottom and see my coaching books. So yeah, go there. It has links to get them on Amazon or wherever you shop, and you can download a free chapter. So in every book, go grab a chapter of my book, Fearless Living and Fearless Loving and Change Your Life and Do I Look Fat, and then download them. Do I Look Fat in This will make you laugh. You'll pee your pants laughing. Fearless Living is all about fear. Change Your Life in 30 Days. I always say every coach and therapist should read. It's like a Bible because it has 30 tools in it. And so I always say, if you want to change your life fast, do Change Your Life in 30 days. If you want to understand fear, do Fearless Living. And of course, if you want to open your heart for more love, do Fearless Loving.
I'm in. I'm in. Phew, like I said, you're my hero. I have to go get your coaching book. Ah. So, because everything is always so heavy on the podcast, it's very deep conversations and very mind strenuous, I would say. So, what I do is I like to end our podcast with a little segment, and I would like for you to pick a number 1 through 8.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God. Well, if it's 1 through 8, then I'm going to pick, 7.
7 is, this is so perfect. I love this one. Number 7 is, who's my pack? If you were a dog, what breed would you be and why?
Mhm. Oh, okay. Well, I used to have a purebred German Shepherd and a Doberman. And I loved those. I love labs too. Oh, I love all dogs, by the way. I love all dogs. So I love dogs. But I would say I'm probably a German Shepherd. And because German Shepherds are alert and awake. And my German Shepherd used to, cruise the house and, alert and, keep everything safe. And then the Doberman, my Doberman, I'll never forget, the FedEx guy came and my Doberman's the one that barks. And so, and I go, Buttercup, stop. And he goes, your Doberman's a Buttercup. I'm like, yeah, I know. But the German Shepherd, my German Shepherd Ike would robe, and he would always keep alert. But the Doberman only was alerted when it was serious, right? So
Ah,
I'm more like a German Shepherd, where I'm keeping alert, I'm keeping track of people, I'm loving people, I'm aware of the situation. I have situational awareness. So yeah, I'm probably like I'm probably a German Shepherd, purebred, long
fan.
hair.
Fan freaking tastic because I'm an Aussie mom. So any of the shepherds, I am just partial to. They're extremely derpy and extremely smart at the same time, if it's possible, and protective. Ironically, my Callie dog, who's an Aussie, she barks. At Amazon or whatever, but when she has her vicious bark, it's only the FedEx guy. It's the weirdest thing. We were in the veterinarian's office and the guy walked by in his FedEx uniform and she wanted to go through that window. And she's not like that. She's a very gentle, loving, sweet girl.
Yes, yeah,
And I'll hear her kind of like bark a little bit if Amazon's at the
yeah.
door, whatever, no big deal. But when she's going crazy, I'm like, what is going on out there? It's the FedEx truck. I don't know how she knows, but FedEx is not her friend. I'm sorry, FedEx, but that's just the way things are. But thank you so much, Rhonda. I knew this was going to be fantastic because I knew you were going to be fantastic, and I really do mean it.
Thank you.
This is not fluff. This is not just saying it to say it because you're on my podcast. I always believe, and listeners, you know this, you're never in front of me because of coincidence. There's a reason why you're here. There is a synchronicity and an alignment for why we are here. We have a thread of something that we just get it. We get it. We are light workers spread all across the
That's right.
planet and even beyond the planet because I believe other beings exist
Hmm.
outside of us. So that you're here is no coincidence. And man, I just love it when I get to meet someone that I would never get to meet any other way. So thank you for all of your wisdom, your knowledge, and I'll
You're
have
welcome.
all that information for you listeners. So for this week, a little housekeeping on my side. For any coaching, I am dating coaching, relationship coaching. I also do small business coaching where I help entrepreneurs start a small business, as well as self-worth, confidence coaching, which we were talking about very heavily today. And that is at lifecoachmaureen.com. And all of my books are there. My speaking, I also do speaking. And yeah, my books, My Dog is More Enlightened Than I Am. It's kind of the first book to start figuring out who you are. That was a channel reading, the very beginning of my path of healing, where I just realized, oh my gosh, this is what I've been missing. So start on that one. And then if you're looking for a relationship or you're in a long-term relationship or just any relationship, period, My Dog is My Relationship Coach will do exactly as Rhonda was saying. And it's about no more transparent expectations. We tell each other what we need so the other person can help meet those needs. We are not mind readers. We are human. We do not read minds. I cannot know what you want unless you share that with me. So that's a big theme in my book, as
Yes.
well as your dating, steps of dating and questions to ask. Don't be afraid to ask all the questions on the first date. I'm one of those.
That's right. That's it.
When I first started dating, after I was, I feel, in my healed process as far as relationships went, when I went out dating, I was able to really spot someone that was not a good fit. And I would just
Yes,
say,
yes.
we are not a good fit.
That's right.
Thank you for
Thank you. I love
dinner.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for taking me to this great play.
Yeah,
And thank
great.
you for the great interview. And I'm so grateful. And there's nothing wrong with you, everyone. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just fear. So be fearless, everyone. Thank you so much.
I love it. I love it. Be fearless, guys, because that's how you fulfill your purpose here on this planet. And then also the last thing, and Rhonda mentioned 0 to 7. When we are 0 to 7 years old, we learn everything. So my children's book is for the 0 to 7 readers, and it's repetitive, and it is my dog is or My Dog Bexley is just like me. And don't forget to buy those for your little guys. And other than that, we just have the my dog is everything.net boutique for all those things for your puppies. So I love you all. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and most of all, take care of those furry babies. Until next week. Mwah!